Hello, welcome back. Thanks for joining Proactive. We're going to our Perth studio now to talk to Ian Prentice. He's the Managing Director of Technology Metals Australia. Hi Ian, how are you?
Hi Karen, very well thanks.
Nice to see you again, and lots of nice updates for you today. Starting with great news for Technology Metals this week with an offtake memorandum of understanding executed with a leading Chinese vanadium nitrogen producer. Congratulations on that. What are the details?
Yeah, thank you. Offtake MOU announced with Shaanxi Fangyuan earlier in the week. Looking at an offtake volume of around 3,000 tonnes per annum, with I think, similar structure to our previous MOU that we had announced, with a floor ceiling pricing structure and a take or pay type of contract. Really exciting news and really positive for us.
And can you just tell us a bit more about Fangyuan and why it's regarded as such a leading vanadium nitrogen producer?
Yeah, certainly. So vanadium nitrogen is a product or a vanadium alloy that is very much China-based, and Fangyuan have been in that space for probably close to a couple of decades now. So, and they're one of the leading groups in China, probably one of the top three vanadium nitrogen alloy producers. And we see that the Chinese steel industry is moving across to more and more using vanadium nitrogen as their input, as opposed to ferrovanadium. So very important to be getting these relationships with these large vanadium nitrogen producers. Also key with Fangyuan is that they've got quite a large production capacity, which is currently underutilised, and that's obviously where we get our relationship with them forming, where we can help them to fully utilise their facility over time.
Sounds great. Great relationships you'll have there. Do we have a time frame for when this agreement will be finalised?
Yeah, so one of the things that we always try to put into our MOUs is to put a timeline on that, so that we effectively can work towards a date to make sure we move that into a binding offtake agreement. So for this one, we've got the end of this calendar year, 31 December is the effective date for that. So our aim is to progress that over the next couple of months through to a binding term sheet.
And what does this non-binding MOU mean to Technology Metals' operations strategy moving forwards?
So very important for us. So obviously we put out a feasibility study a month or so back now. It was a fantastic result, really strong metrics in there, delivery of a really high purity vanadium product, and that's now flowed through to this MOU with Shaanxi Fangyuan, and Fangyuan are obviously very attracted to that high purity. But more importantly, now we're looking at saying we've got this 3,000 tonne MOU with Fangyuan. We've also got the pre-existing 2,000 tonne per annum MOU with China Non-Ferrous's arm. And so combined 5,000 tonnes out of our circa 13,000 tonnes of average production. So 40% of our production is now under MOU and progressing through to binding term sheets. So very important as part of the full strategy to progress through to funding. The financing model is really driven around getting some strong support from the vanadium industry, some strong support from the market, from the consumers, and this is really key. Now having 40% of our average production under contract, very important.
Why is it such a benefit?
So when we look at financing the project, financiers will want to get some comfort around not just the volume of product, but also the pricing. So as opposed to some of the more widely traded commodities, vanadium is something where you don't have an LME or a spot market per se. So having contracts in place with customers, and with really strong customers like the two customers we've currently got in place under MOU, very important when the financiers are looking at the project and looking at the financial viability.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, what are the next steps now for your company?
So we're really pushing ahead on this strategy around building more in the book around the offtake. We're targeting probably something closer to 80% of our production covered under offtake over the sort of first 3 to 5 years of production. So that's very much front of mind for us at the moment. Engaging very much with strategic investors and the potential financiers. So looking at putting all the building blocks in place to demonstrate how the project is going to be funded and moving that through to development next year.
Sounds good. And finally, you recently attended a vanadium roadshow across China, Japan and South Korea. How is the vanadium sentiment and what were the highlights?
Yeah, it's a really interesting market dynamic at the moment, and what we're seeing, particularly in China, but elsewhere, there is a shortage of vanadium feedstock. So the vanadium pentoxide that we'll be producing right now, there is a shortage in that marketplace. So really interesting, and that's where Shaanxi Fangyuan have demonstrated that their support by entering into a MOU with us, because they want to secure long-term stable supply from of a high purity product like ours. So I think what came through very much from the conversations we had, we've now delivered the feasibility study. There's recognition of the high quality of that feasibility study. As I've said previously, it's a really important milestone for us, that feasibility study. So now we can engage in meaningful discussions with all these groups with that piece of information behind us, data rooms for them to look at, and really progress the conversations around that. So really, really strong, positive, I guess, sentiment coming from the market around our project and around the commodity over the medium term.
Sound like a great roadshow, and certainly worthwhile to sort of mingle with that sector of the world as well, isn't it, in what you're doing with vanadium. So well done, and thank you so much for your update today, and stop by again soon.
Fantastic. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you. That's Ian Prentice from Technology Metals.